Hello and welcome everybody to the first episode of the Modcast. I am your host, Reb, here today. Gonna give you all a quick, brief introduction about what the Modcast is all about. It's a podcast hosted by yours truly, where I just sit down and talk with the mods and admins of the Waytoni Discord server. Link will be in the description. Feel free to join. Wayton's YouTube channel will also be in the description, so feel free to subscribe to him. And yeah, I would like to introduce our very first guest for the first episode, Mr. McFizz.
Hey, how's it going? Super psyched to be the first guest on the Modcast with Reb. Oh man, it's gonna be an awesome first episode. Super excited.
So, you did just recover from a cold. But I was actually interested. Where you came back from a trip? Where'd you go? How was the trip?
Yeah. Okay. So, I I actually was all of last week in Orlando. I was going to Disney World and Universal Studios. So I've actually never been to Disney, never been to Orlando before at all. And the funny thing is, I actually went with my longtime girlfriend and her family. They invited me to go. It was a trip for her. They were
Yeah,
like, "Oh yeah, you should bring McFizz. It'll be fun."
yeah,
And so I was like, "Oh no way!" So I got to go with them. It was awesome. We went to all the parks, did a whole bunch of stuff. Was there for the whole week.
yeah,
Um, did the whole 9 yards. Made a custom lightsaber, all that stuff. Rode the new rides, and then yeah, like the last day or two I was there. I mean, all of us, it was me and my girlfriend and her two parents, and we were all doing everything together, right? So all of us were kind of starting to feel it. We're like, man, I think we're getting sick. Um, and by the time I got back, like which was the day before we were supposed to record this, yeah, I was just coughing everywhere. I had congestion. I didn't sound right. I couldn't
yeah.
talk very well. Um, and I luckily didn't have COVID. I'm actually surprised that I didn't get COVID because I've done less when traveling and have come back with COVID before. But this time, no, it was just a little cold. It was over it in a couple days. But those of you who know my voice might recognize I may sound a little bit off still, and that's because I'm on the tail end of it. But yeah, I had a blast. I don't know about you, Reb, if you've been to Disney World before or anywhere like that, but it was my first time. I thought it was awesome.
Well, I live in LA, so I've been to Disneyland and I've been to Universal Studios here in LA, but I've never been to Orlando. But we do know some family friends who work for Disney, and they've already told us that if we want to go to Orlando, they can get some cheap tickets for there. So, it's something that we've talked about going at some point, but for now, I've never been there, and it's not on the calendar right now. Is I'm kind of like on the midst of like moving out. I'm not sure where just yet, but we're like kind of moving out. So yeah, that's just the whole agenda for now.
For real, I get you. No, that's cool though. I mean, that's kind of funny. I forget that there's a Universal Studios in LA, and we actually had a little bit of a mix up when we were there last week. We were trying to, I guess, make sure everything was looking right before we went to Universal. And my girlfriend's dad realized the day before that he actually accidentally bought the tickets. We had them bought ahead of time. Accidentally bought them for the LA Universal Studios and not the Orlando one. Um,
Mm.
so we had to get that sorted out. It was kind of it's hilarious because
Yeah,
he bought them months in advance and had checked them multiple times. But of course, the day before you realize it's totally wrong.
it's
But
totally wrong. That's so
yeah,
unfortunate. Yeah, I've had a couple scenarios like that myself. I did so earlier this year. I ended up flying alone for the first time. I ended up meeting my boys in Colorado. Just some of the friends ended up going to Grand Junction and then Denver, but again, my first time flying alone. I'm just kind of like on the edge, and I ended up having a pretty bad experience flying alone.
ooh, that
Um,
sucked. What happened?
so LAX being as annoying as it is, um, I had my flight delayed by exactly 45 minutes, and my layover from here to Salt Lake City in Utah was 45 minutes. So I landed, and my other flight was gone already. So,
Eesh.
so yeah, that was something, and I had to wait at the airport for like 9 hours for the next flight. I got there at like 1 in the afternoon, and I had to wait for my flight at like 10. So I was just at the airport with my phone dead, by the way, because I had my charger in my bag. So
Yeah,
my
right, and
phone,
you don't have your bag, yeah.
yeah, my phone was dead the whole time, and I'm just sitting there looking at the clock, like, just hurry up, please. It felt like the longest like 9 hours of my life, and it was, I don't know, it
Bro.
definitely wasn't the most exciting flight, but it was worth it. I got to meet the boys. I had a blast. It was really cold though because it's Colorado in January, so it was kind of
Yeah.
it's cold,
Winter,
but
right?
yeah, but it was I had a good time. It was fun meeting all the boys. I'm gonna be able to meet them exactly in a month from now. They're gonna be coming to LA actually, so I'm pretty
Oh, that's
excited for that.
awesome.
Yeah,
That is super cool. Yeah, I've actually I didn't used to fly a lot, but I guess as I got older and I've got brothers and family members that kind of spread out, and it ended up just happening that I tend to fly semi regularly, not a lot, but by now I've flown a bunch. And yeah, like a 45-minute layover is pretty short. You don't think it's that long, like that short. 45 minutes, like, oh, it's almost an hour. I'll just be sitting around. But
yeah,
by the time you get off your plane, there's always the chance that you're going to have somebody that whatever for whatever reason, right? It takes you longer to get off the plane than you thought. Like maybe somebody there, like one of the recent experiences I had, there was somebody who needed a wheelchair, but they just insisted on not waiting for everyone, like for the wheelchair to get down the jetway. And they
yeah,
were like, I can just walk it, it's fine. And then they couldn't walk it. And it was a whole thing. So it just took way longer. Anyways, 45 minutes is super quick. So
yeah.
that's definitely like a risk. And lately, with the airlines being as unreliable as they are,
That's very true.
I mean, I made a trip. So I went to Worlds for RLCS, and my I'm also from Texas. I'm currently living in Washington State, but I'm from Texas, and I wanted to stop back in my hometown, see my parents, some friends for a couple days before going to Worlds. And so the plan was I was going to leave a couple days before Worlds starts. I was going to fly through the evening. I was going to take an evening flight, get in at night, spend that weekend before Worlds at home, and then go to Worlds. But with the way the airlines have been going, I my flight out that evening like totally got canceled. And then I was just at the mercy of the airlines to give me another flight the next day, messed the whole trip up. It was totally rough. Um and then there was another time that I was in Tennessee for my college roommate's bachelor party. It was in Nashville. And we were all at the airport waiting for our return flight back home. And then we all just got a text at the exact same time that the flight was canceled.
Oh,
And yeah, and it was a Sunday. We had work the next day. So, everyone was kinda like, "Oh, crap, what do we do?" And we ended up just scrubbing it. We just got a refund on our return flight,
yeah.
rented a car, and drove overnight all the way from Nashville back to Dallas.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, dude, you'd think, "Oh, it's flying, it's no big deal," but at the end of the day, like, it's always an adventure. And, at the time, it's inconvenient. And it mostly just sucks when you're by yourself, which is unfortunate in your case, right? But when
Yeah,
you're with
yeah,
a group of friends, you're with other people, sometimes it can kind of turn into a little adventure. You just gotta roll with the punches. But yeah, no, I feel your pain. I also have a friend that moved up from Texas to Colorado Springs. And he had, coming from Texas where the weather's always the same, with hot and dry all the time. He got a new car before he moved up. He went for work, and he was like, "Oh, I want to get like a fun car." He didn't have a ton of cash, right? He wasn't gonna buy like anything crazy like a Tesla, but he
yeah.
wanted something sporty, something fun, and didn't want to spend like a ton of money. So he got a Mazda MX-5, Mazda
Ooh,
Miata,
ooh, that's a
right?
nice
Really
car.
fun
That's a nice
car.
car. Yeah,
Yeah, very fun car. It's nothing like, not like a BMW or anything like that, but it's a really fun, sporty car. He was super psyched
yeah,
about it. Well, this guy, he's I'm pretty tall. He's pretty tall as well. He's got to be at least 6 feet, which the Miata's a small car, right? Already. So that's kind of a funny
yeah.
image of him as well. But on top of all that, he takes it, he buys it in Texas. He's going to drive it up to Colorado Springs. And he's literally never lived anywhere else before. So he doesn't like know what it's like to have weather. I don't know how it is in
Mm,
LA, but so half the time he's like, "Yeah, I'm working from home today because I can't get my car out of the driveway because there's snow. The roads aren't safe. I don't even have four-wheel drive." It's hilarious. I was just laughing the whole time. Like, you mentioned it being cold. I'm like, "Yeah, my friend moved up in that area, and he was telling me like, oh yeah, I can't even leave my house right now
yeah,
because he
yeah.
didn't think about that." So it's funny stuff.
I mean, in LA, it's pretty bland. It's mostly hot. We rarely even get rain. Like this whole year, it rained like maybe 3 weeks ago, and it was just really light rain. We rarely get hail. We like never get snow, so it's just mainly hot all year round. Yeah, it's pretty it's some pretty bad weather. But no, I feel it because um again I flew out to meet my boys in Grand Junction, but I was also meeting up that same week with my boys in Denver. But they knew each other. They're groups that like knew each other. Um, so the plan was the boys in Grand Junction drive me out, meet halfway, which I think was I don't remember what city it was called, but we were supposed to meet halfway. We were gonna hang out. The both groups hang out for like the week for like the whole day, and then we were gonna go back to Denver. But of course, that day it ended up snowing really badly in the town we were gonna meet up. So everything around closed was closed, and there was no way to connect from Denver to Grand Junction. So I had to get a last second flight 5 hours before we were supposed to meet, and I had to they had to drop me off at the Grand Junction airport. I had to go from Grand Junction back to Salt Lake City, then Salt Lake City to Denver. So it was kind of just like it was a wild ride. It was kind of unfortunate all the way through, but like I said, it was pretty fun all around because I got to meet like some of the friends that I've known for a couple years now online. So overall, it was a fun journey, but the trip going there was kind of like iffy because so much was happening that I was kind of like for my first time flying alone was kind of like just taking a toll on my head. I was like, what is going on? Why is everything going wrong?
Right, right. Exactly. You kind of just got to learn to roll with the punches. I didn't actually know where Grand Junction was, so I looked it up really quick. And so you said you went in January, and then your plan was to go to Grand Junction and then go to Denver,
Yeah.
or meet somewhere in the middle. But yeah, it's like you got the Rocky Mountains right in between those two.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, man, that's definitely like you're driving right through Aspen and Breckenridge and Vale, and those are like
Oh, Vale
some
was
of
where
the
we're gonna meet. Vale
oh
was
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, that's like prime skiing. I wish I could go to Vale.
Yeah, that's why
I
that's
like
why they wanted to go because they were hyping me up about it. They were like, dude, Vale's really nice. Like it's a very nice place. We'll go there, hang out for a couple hours with both of the groups to get something to eat. Just have a chill out and have a good time. Because I mean, the whole week prior to that, it just was not snowing, so we thought it would be fine. And then it ended up snowing really hard that day. So all the all the tunnels and everything were just closed going to Vale. Everything was just closed. So, there was no way we could just, go to Vale anymore. And it was kind of just like I had to get a last second flight and then go to Denver that way.
that's crazy, man. I mean, yeah, it definitely keeps you on your toes, and I don't know. Those types of like mix ups are not always, but sometimes the most memorable experiences I have on trips because you're just hanging out with your boys and you're like, oh man, like the plans fell through. What are we gonna do? And y'all just have to band together and like
Yeah.
figure it out. And it's just fun. It's annoying sometimes in the moment, but then when you look back at it, like right, like I said, I had to drive all the way from Tennessee to Dallas, and we were just sitting there playing like Phase 10 in the airport, waiting for our flight, and we all got the text. And we're like, "What are we gonna do, guys?" And we were like, "All right, quick," because a whole flight just got canceled. We don't want to run out of rental cars. We just scramble down and pile in, and it's just a road trip at that point. And we're stopping in sketchy towns, and we don't know the areas, so we're like making dumb decisions of where to pull over and get gas. Yeah, it just ended up being fun. So that's always fun. It's always fun. I don't know when I'm going to be traveling next. Actually, I know. Oh no, you know what? The next trip I'm taking is going to be right before Thanksgiving. I'm going back to Texas. To see some of my old friends from college, and we're all gonna go to the Renaissance Fair.
Mm,
Um, yeah, I don't know if you've ever been to a Renaissance Fair, if they do that over
no.
around LA, if they have any,
Well,
but
I'm not sure if they do, but I didn't really. I went to like 3 or 4 semesters of college, and then I dropped out and started working full time. So I don't
right.
really know.
Yeah, well, the Ren Fair is completely separate from college. There's just a big one that's pretty close to where we were, and,
Mm,
right towards the end of college, we were all like, "Hey, we should go," and we had a blast. It sounds like if you don't know anything about what a Ren Fair is, you might be like, "Oh, it sounds kinda nerdy," and it's, like, definitely got that, like, kinda nerdy fantasy vibe, right? But
yeah.
mostly, it's just good food, cool stuff. lots of beer, people walking around carrying swords and things. And so we just went, we got drinks, we were just wandering around the whole park, like, and we all got dressed up and everything. We did the whole 9 yards. We went in. This was my Dungeons and Dragons group, right? So it makes total sense. These are the people I play D&D with. We're already like kind of nerdy. We're already into that fantasy stuff. And we're like, let's go to the Ren Fair. So we like got costumes put together. We had a whole group. Um, and yeah, so anyways, that was a huge blast. And we're gonna be doing that again in November. I get to
Sounds
go
awesome.
see my old I'm from like the college I went to is a small little town in central Texas. And so I'm gonna see that again for an evening, go down to the Ren Fair and get blasted with the homies and have a ball. So
Yeah,
I'm psyched about that.
that sounds awesome. Yeah, yeah, that sounds amazing. Thanksgiving is actually around the time of my birthday, so I'm probably not gonna be doing anything besides, celebrating my birthday. But I do actually, I'm not really allowed to talk about it much since I just signed an NDA. But
Oh
I do have a pretty big job coming up for my work. I'm hoping it doesn't interfere with my birthday because I'm not really gonna celebrate it, but I just wanna, just wanna take the time to relax.
yeah, you want to have your
Um,
birthday to do what you want, right?
exactly. So I don't, hopefully it doesn't interfere. I mean, getting to the point where we have to sign the NDAs just took us like a very long time. It took almost a whole year for us to get to this point. So I highly doubt the job is gonna get approved almost immediately since they have to do background checks of like all the workers and everything. So, you know, that that's kind of what's going on there. And yeah, and so I wanted to talk about briefly about what's going on the Discord side of stuff. Again, I guess I'll take this time to thank our thank our sponsor for the podcast, the Waytoni Discord server.
Yeah, shout
Feel
out
f-
to the Waytoni Discord community.
so yeah, um, as I said at the intro of the podcast, I said that I will be sitting down and talking to the mods and the admins of the Wayton Discord server. This is just a community for the YouTuber known as Wayton, and we mod, look over the Discord, his Twitch, stuff like that. So feel free to join the Discord. We host leagues, draft tournaments. The community's pretty active. Um, all around fun and good times. So the link will be in the description. Make sure to join up if you are not already. And yeah, also subscribe to Wayton. His channel will also be in the description. And of course, subscribe to this channel if you want to get more Modcast episodes, which will be coming up. And yeah, we will be having a live Modcast episode soon. So if you want to be there for that one, make sure you join the Discord. I'll be making an announcement for it sometime soon whenever we get the dates confirmed. And yeah, we'll have a live one. So hope to see some of you there. We'll probably have like a Q&A after as well. So if some of you guys want to ask some questions to either me or the guests on for that episode, anything, then feel free to do so. But make sure you join the Discord, subscribe to Wayne, subscribe to this channel for more updates. And yeah, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about the Discord, talk about what's going on with the drafts because I know some people here might not know about it, or they're new to this stuff. So I have been seeing people join the Discord quite recently who have been seeing the channels and asking what's the draft, what's going on, or is there a league. So I want to talk about that for a little bit. So the draft tournaments are a tournament which I brought up the suggestion for, but it's hosted by me and McFizz. Um, we get players to sign up for them, and we announce the date for when they will be taking place. There will be captains that will be selected and will be announced when everything is going through picking. When we'll be picking players who will be playing in the drafts. For now, we're kind of keeping it limited because we just hosted our first one last month, which did amazing. We got some pretty good feedback, which we're gonna take in consideration for the next one, which we'll talk about the draft after this podcast episode because it's coming up. October is what, tomorrow or the following day, so we kind of have to make an announcement soon when it's gonna happen. So yeah, drafts. If you get chosen for it, there'll be captains. If you're high, we usually pick captains of the highest rank. The captains will choose who they want on their team. three players. If we get enough people, we can hopefully increase the amount of people that are able to play, which is our plan. But there's only so much that we can handle. As right now, we're kind of like a small team working on this, which is why we're kind of limiting the players and making sure that it's kind of we can manage it.
Yeah,
And
we've got a lot of like, we have to do a lot of manual managing for this. And that's one of the things that I personally want to work on. And I've been when I have some free time sitting down, kind of looking at ways that we can make the system a little more lightweight, easier to use, and more accessible. Because I think it'd be sick to have like, big tournaments that happen a lot more frequently. So those are some things that I've been thinking about, at least how we can make it just a little bit quicker and easier for people to participate in. So, but for now, I think it's gonna be slow. We want to make sure that we're able to do a good job, and so sometimes that takes time.
yeah, of course. And seeing as it's kind of like a popular question in the Discord, do we have a small word about the league coming up like this?
Oh yeah, man. Okay, I'll talk about the league. So to clarify, right? Because some people are a little confused, maybe. So I'll take a quick minute to kind of clarify when I say league and when we say the draft and the draft tournaments. That they're different, but they're not completely separate, right? So we last year when we first kind of whole started the not first, right, but when I was around, we first started doing the league stuff, and I started that up. We did like a whole season with teams and round robin scheduling and playoffs and the whole 9 yards, right? I thought that was a blast, and I really 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 want to keep doing that. um, it was a lot of work, and it required a lot from all the people that were involved, right? And the people that were involved were luckily super awesome, really excited about it, and put in a lot of effort too. And so it worked out. I think it went really well. Um, I see something like this again expanding and being something that more people can participate in, and it doesn't have to be such a huge ordeal and such a huge time sink for the people that are managing. So I know it's been kind of on hiatus for now, right? Because I've been taking time to look at the format that we used, what I liked about it, what we didn't like about it, what I think would be better. A lot of people, with the previous season, were just straight up left out because we couldn't make the teams balanced in a way where they would be able to participate and have fun, right? If everyone's going to be diamond and champ and you're gold or plat one and you want to participate, we could let you participate, but people that are higher ranked are going to be maybe frustrated that, they don't have a higher ranked teammate and they're going against a team that's, higher ranked than them, or you just might feel like you can't keep up and it might not be fun. And that's kind of like one of the big issues is lots of issues with scheduling, lots of things that made it difficult. And that kind of limits exactly how many people can participate, how big it can be. And the community that we're, working with right now is pretty much worldwide. We have people from all different regions, all different time zones and skill sets too. We have new players, we have longtime players, um, and I want to make this something that everyone can be a part of. And so that requires like a whole lot of reorganization. So I've been focusing on that, and I am, it's coming back. I know it's been like what, probably, man, it's October already, maybe a year since we were doing this. It's been at least a year since we were doing
Yeah, about.
this season, right? It's been a long time. Um, so first of all, I want to say the league is not it's not dead, it's not over. I do plan to bring it back. It's been difficult for me personally. I graduated college, I moved away from Texas, I moved up to Washington. Um, New place. There's been a lot of personal stuff that has made made it so that I had to put the league on the back burner. And I'm trying to bring it forward more. And so of course, like I'm super psyched because Reb reminded me. Well, he taught me, he told me about this thing that you guys used to do, which was, the
The
draft
draft
tournament.
tournaments. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so of course we did one of those in September. We're gonna plan to do another one this month in October. Um and this was a really awesome realization for me because it it gave me the idea that like that's a really good way to kind of get the ball rolling and give something for people to jump in and participate in, but doesn't necessarily have to be as high commitment or as long term as like the regular league, right? Because again, we have people, all sorts of different type of people that want to participate. Some people are younger, they're in school. Some people are older, they have jobs. Some people, different time zones. So when everyone else is online, they're already done with school or work. Other times, people are just getting started. And so having a draft tournament, that we just sit down and we do it and it's done in a couple hours, and then people can, have their teams and they can practice and have some competition and play along with everyone else in the community is fun. But then you don't have to worry about like, oh, well, I don't know if I can make the games, and I don't know if my team, I'll be able to work with my team and all sorts of the challenges, right? So the draft league is a really great way for people who are thinking about that, maybe just looking for more people that they want to meet in the Rocket League community that they want to play with. Like I've almost always been a solo queuer, right? And I don't really like
Yeah,
that. I wish I had a team. And I see this as a great opportunity for people to come on, play with other people, meet other people, get to play with higher ranked players too, see what that's like, and then start to build a connection where they can be like, "Hey, I have a question," or "I wanted to know if you could help me with something. Like, I'm trying to learn how to do X. Well, will you give me some pointers?" And it's not just some random person asking for advice. It's someone you've played with, someone you've talked to, somebody you know, and that just makes everyone a little bit more willing and interested to work together. So I mean, I can go on and on and on about this, but it's something that really, really excites me for all of these reasons. And all of this to say, bring it back in. Once we have a good format that we like, that we're able to do regularly, repeatably, relatively easily for the draft tournaments, that is basically going to be the stepping stone into the next like big league, right?
yeah,
And I'm working on some things like I did this once before, but I want to try and take a better approach to it, right? So I'm a software developer by trade, and I like to write code. And I've been learning about how I could maybe create a bot that can help with this. And that would be cool to like keep track of statistics. So you can say like, oh, what are your stats? How many assists do you have? How many wins do you have? Could potentially even start our own like version of MMR. And that way, if you don't play a lot of ranked, or if you don't play a certain game mode, like maybe you play twos on ranked, but the leagues are 3v3, whatever, it can manage all that stuff. And essentially that's going to make it so much more in-depth, detailed. And that's like way down the line, right? We'll start small with little things, but I've got big ideas for this, and it definitely hasn't died. It hasn't you know stopped being a priority of mine. There's just been a lot of things that I've had to get to, and I guess time flies. So I've been working on it, but that's kind of what I have in mind. And I'm super excited to see it kind of continue to grow and go from there. That's kind of I wouldn't really call it an elevator pitch. It's too long for that, but that's my, TLDR, I guess, of everything I've been thinking about. I don't know, Reb, is there anything in there you want to dig into more?
I mean, not really. Kind of just went through all of it. I do want to say the reason I did bring up the drafts was because it is something that I personally enjoyed back then. Again, I was in high school around the time when we started playing drafts, and it was something that I would look forward to every once or twice a month. It was something that was pretty big when it came to me improving overall in Rocket League, and around some of the most enjoyable times of my time playing Rocket League. So it was definitely something I wanted to bring back. And I was actually talking to Wayton last night. I was playing a couple games with him, but we were talking. He was telling me how it was awesome, how you know, you and me are bringing back the drafts because he enjoyed them a lot back then when we used to do them. So he said he was just complimenting us on how it was great to see how the community looks a little bit more active because we're bringing back tournaments like the draft and we're keeping the community a little active. So it's great to see. And it's something I definitely was hoping to see once I brought back the drafts because I knew that it was something that I enjoyed, and I was hoping that I can share that enjoyment with all the other people at the Discord. So, and it looks like we kind of succeeded in that. Looks like we have a lot of people that are hyped. We had Shadow earlier today ask me when is the next draft. When are you gonna announce when's the next draft? And I told him that it was gonna be discussed today because after the podcast I plan to discuss when we're gonna host the next one. So well, that'll be discussed after, and I'll make an announcement in the Discord. And again, if you want updates on that, make sure you join the Discord. Link in the description. We host monthly drafts. League hopefully coming back soon. And yeah, make sure you guys are excited for that. And join the Discord. So I
Yeah.
I do also want to brief talk about a little bit. Have you been keeping up with RLCS at all?
No, not recently, right? Because it's a new season. I've
Yes.
seen a little bit here and there, and I really want to make an effort to kind of I guess, get up to speed and try and keep up with things before it gets too far ahead of me, right? So,
Yeah.
I know there was, roster mania. Some people changed. Of course, I was following SSG and Reddles and everyone else, and because some of the things I was a little more interested in. Personally, I'm super psyched to hear that Reddles is on Optic. I like Optic a lot. Optic with AJ and Reddles and Magic Bear sounds like a super awesome team. Super excited to watch them play. Um, I didn't really know much about LJ, and now he's on Space Station. I like Daniel and Arsenal, right? Um, So I've been keeping track a little bit of kind of what's been going on with some aspects of it. I wouldn't say that I'm a subject matter expert at all. And as far as the games that went on yesterday, I really didn't have the time to sit down and go through and see kind of what the results were like. I did see a couple of things shared in the esports chat in the Discord, but outside of
Yeah.
that, I don't really know. So yeah, what are your thoughts?
So again, I was talking to Wayton last night. We were kind of just talking about the games a little bit last night, and it was kind of we're kind of disappointed in overall around how the things are going. I mean, I think he was rooting a lot for Furia. Furia is probably his favorite team right now. And we did watch a couple games. We saw the Furia Twitch channel stream it, and it was he was kind of disappointed to see that they lost to, I think it was Dignitas that they lost to yesterday. Which it's kind
Yeah.
of weird to see that Dignitas is now an NA team instead of an EU team, because I'm used
Same
to.
with Furio though, right? They're in A
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
I'm used to them. I'm used to them because of other esports being in their perspective regions compared to NA. So it's kind of weird to see, because I used to watch a lot of CS, so I'm used to that. Them not being NA. So it was
Right.
kind of weird to go into this and be like, they're NA now. What's going on? So it's definitely kind of interesting to see there. But
Yeah, no, I mean, like, and honestly, okay, let's see. There was a diagram that somebody sent a while ago that I want to pull up. Just kind of shows like what happened in terms of NA with teams and players moving,
I
right?
could send
Um,
you the link for last yesterday's games. If you want to see.
yeah, you can send me that. Here I found the graphic, right? But so like Furia came from South America, Dignitas came over from EU, and then of course there was Roster Mania and a bunch of things changed there.
Yeah,
But like that's two more really good teams that made their way into NA. You know, and I was surprised to see that Furia was, you know, played the way, had the record they had as well. And I don't know. I think people, there's always the like, what's the better region? EU, NA, all that stuff. But I definitely feel like these, even those two teams, those are big teams coming over to NA and having to vie for the spots. All the other teams is going to definitely be kind of something interesting to keep an eye out for,
yeah,
because at the end of the day, you're competing with each other earlier on when you're all in the same region, rather than sometimes later on. It's like, oh, the EU people are doing the EU thing, people are doing the NA things. Um, so yeah, let me see. I got this link here. I'm gonna take a minute and look over the records, but
yeah.
yeah, it's
So as you can
definitely shaping
see,
up to be an interesting
Space
season.
Station is crazy right now. They haven't lost. They didn't lose a game. They beat Ghost 3-0, Phase 3-0, and Optic 3-0. So I was kind of joking around with Wayton last night. I was telling him, maybe Arsenal was right, but I don't.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Who
I
knows?
don't agree with the methods he did, and I don't think a lot of people agree with the way he kind of went through it. And if for some of you guys that don't know, I'd recommend searching up what happened. But Arsenal pretty much just put Reddles on full blast, saying that he you know, doesn't like him on the team. He doesn't want him on the team, and it was kind of a douche way to go about it.
Yeah,
But
basically went behind his back, started telling other people at Worlds, you know, before Reynolds even knew. So yeah, it was
yeah,
definitely kind of a dramatic split, for sure. And honestly, I was hoping to see Optic do better, and expecting Space Station to do a little bit worse. But um, as far as players go, individually, outside of that drama, I do like Daniel. I do like Arsenal. It definitely changes my perspective on them after all of that stuff. Seeing like, but I don't know the day to day what it's like
yeah,
on the
exactly.
team and all that stuff, right? So I don't want to. I don't. I'm trying not to make any judgment. It is funny looking at the results here.
We have Energy in
Bas-
11th because we were memeing on NRG last night. We were saying how they're pretty much just a content team now. It kind of
Kind
sucks
of.
to see because they're they have talent. They have Justin, they have Garrett, and they have Squishy. It's talent. They have talent for sure. But it's kind of we were kind of talking about last night how they kind of just won RLCS, and we're kind of done here. We're not gonna
Yeah.
push for RLCS again, and it kind of sucks to see because they definitely have the fan favorites. But
Yeah, and this may be a little bit of a hot take. I've always been someone who tends to root more for the underdog. Like at least when I got into RLCS, that's kind of what it felt like. I still don't like FaZe. Um I don't I never cared for NRG. They're fine, like whatever, individually, like I don't have issues with the players, but as far as like which teams do I like and all the players together and all that, like you're never gonna catch me wearing an NRG jersey. It's just not gonna happen. Same thing with FaZe. I don't care. But those are some of the more popular teams, at least in general. They're a really big fan base. People are always like, "Let's go, FaZe is awesome." At least that's my perception of it. And it just, yeah, I don't know. Me, I'm excited to see NRG not doing well, just because I think that's gonna mix things up a little bit from a fan perspective. Like,
hmm
is there still gonna be a ton of NRG hype when NRG is just generally underperforming?
yeah,
Um, that'll be interesting to see how that pans out. You go into the Twitch chat. Where are the copy pastas? Who are they championing? Is it going to be Space
exactly.
Station? Is it going to be NRG? Is it going to be something else? Is it going to be Optic? Like, so I like to see the change. I like to see it mix up.
Well,
Um,
by the looks of it now, we might see a lot of hype around Space Station, V1, G2, Complexity, and Optic because they kind of have like they're top five, but they kind of have a pretty Space Station and V1. They haven't played all 4 games, but they're kind of dominating without losing, and their Space Station hasn't lost a game yet. So that's kind of crazy.
that is
Um,
crazy.
so we'll probably see that. We'll probably see some hype around around mainly around Space Station and V1 for now. I feel like. So yeah, I mean it's exciting to see. But what are you were talking about rooting for the underdogs, but what are your thoughts on G2 because they were fan favorites for a while back then, but they kind of were the underdogs because they just weren't playing well at all. But they were fan favorites because they won RLCS one back then as I Buy Power before they got bought out by G2. So what are your thoughts on that? Did you ever support them, or was that just
Yeah. So, so quick off to say, I have not really been keeping track of the RLCS scene for very long. Really, this
Hmm,
last season was the first season that I was really paying attention to what was going on.
I see.
So I don't have a lot of history going back, but excuse me. I do know that G2, like you said, has been around for a very long time. G2, in my perspective, G2 is very much kind of like an old reliable, right? Like the team is good, all the players are great. G2's always going to do well. They may not win, but they did make it to the championship finals at RLCS, right? Like they
Yeah.
made it there. They're a great team. They can compete with anyone. I don't know when their last roster change was. They didn't have one this season,
No,
right? So
the last roster change was when Rizzo left and they picked up they had Drees, I'm pretty sure, for a while. And then after Drees they picked up Atomic, I'm pretty sure.
yeah, that sounds right. But yeah, so G2, uh, I like G2. I've always kind of grouped them in with the other big popular teams like FaZe and NRG. Like everyone's like, oh, G2 is really awesome, NRG is really awesome. We love FaZe, it's all good. But I never really had anything against, never not that I have anything against the other teams, right? But I don't know. They never kind of were unappealing to me. I like G2. The short answer is I like G2. They're not one of my favorite
Okay.
teams, but I like G2.
Yeah.
It's cool to see that they're doing well. I was very sad, right? Again, I went to Worlds. I was very sad to see the results of the actual championship finals match at Worlds, and that's my because I didn't watch G2 play yet the other day, right? So I didn't see how they did. They did well, right? But that was my last actual experience of G2, and so I'm hoping that, maybe we see a little bit more out of them this season. It seems like they can really walk the walk, but I don't know, maybe when there's a lot of pressure on the line, they just kind of don't show up, and that's a bummer. So I don't know. Again, maybe maybe I'm crazy and I just don't know what I'm talking about because I haven't paid that much attention to G2. Most
Yeah.
of the season, my favorites were V1 and Space Station. Those were the teams that I followed the most. So maybe what are your thoughts about G2? I don't know. Maybe you got completely different ideas.
Yeah, I mean, being someone who followed RLCS from season one, and I saw them winning RLCS back then as iBuyPower, where it was Kronovi, Lachinio, and Overzero, which was that was a crazy final against Flipside Tactics, and that was crazy. So they became automatically fan favorites as iBuyPower, but then after RLCS season one, G2 ended up buying out iBuyPower and picked up that roster. So G2 immediately became the fan favorites for the next RLCS. They were the most anticipated because of the fact that it was such a intense game against Flipside, and they ended up winning. So for a while there, it was the rivalry of NA versus EU, which was G2 versus Flipside Tactics, and everyone was really excited for that game for that whenever they would play against each other. Um, but as time passed, the roster just kept going down and downhill. G2, I'm pretty sure for one RLCS didn't even qualify. So people started like were like we love G2. They won RLCS, the first RLCS, but they kind of fell off. Um, it sucked to see back then because I did support. I was a G2 fan. Because I loved Lachinio. Lachinio was my favorite player. I still love to watch him play whenever I can. So I was a very big fan of G2 back then. Now if I were to say a team that I was more of a fan of, um, I would probably, say FaZe. I really like the players that FaZe has. The roster's First Class Typical and Miss, and I used to be a very big fan of Miss when he was on Pittsburgh. So you know, FaZe Clan is probably one of the teams I'm looking forward to seeing here.
I do like Mist. Mist is cool.
Yeah, so he's definitely one of the players I looked out for. And seeing him on FaZe was, definitely interesting. So I feel like if I were to support a team now, it'd probably be FaZe. I do not know what the situation with V1 is looking like. They have Torment, Tom, and Beast Mode. So, definitely a strong team looking there. Yeah, they're probably, again, like I said, SSG V1, probably the fan favorites here. Without a doubt. They have a clean sheet. They have like a clean record right now. Not no game losses, and Space Station overall not a single game dropped. Just absurd. You know, crazy to see a team with that record right now.
Oh yeah, I mean like they're way ahead of everyone else. I mean
Yeah,
the next least amount of games conceded was 4,
four
and that was version 1.
tied with
So
G2. Yeah,
yeah, that's kind of a lot. Like it's pretty impressive. So
yeah,
is it a fluke? Is it a one off? Or are we going to see that more consistently? Like if we because last season Space Station was always like a good team. They played well, but when they played against some of the just really strong teams, the really reliable teams that have their chemistry down, that was where the coin toss went up. Was like they could win, but I felt like they had a lot of trouble with some of those teams. And they played FaZe would have been one of those teams that I would not have expected them to 3-0. Um, but they did pull through this time. So, I'll be interested to see a lot more um coming out of them. But yeah, I don't know. I think my favorite team so far, again, I still really like Space Station in version 1. I love watching Beast Mode and Com play. So much fun. Um, I've kind of grown to appreciate Reddles more. I didn't really know much about him, but being at Worlds, his family going around, his dad leading the chants, really cool, lots of fun, and it just made it that much more fun to be a Space Station fan. And it was really just because of Reddles' family. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I like Reddles, and I've been following him a little bit more out of this is just because I know, at a closer level what there is to offer. I've also liked Optic as an org too, and who's everyone? There's, I mean, AJ Reddles, Magic Bear. That'll be a fun team to watch, but I don't know if I had to pick one right now. My favorite might be version 1.
okay, okay, yeah. I just understand a little bit. They're a pretty strong looking team right now. They're definitely, Space Station, and I guess Space Station was not really overlooked much, but I feel like V1 was definitely a team that a couple seasons ago you would say that they were definitely the underdogs. So it's kind of like you said, it's kind of great to see the underdogs performing now. G2 has always been a team that's always been there. Since they made the change after Kronovi left, and um, they picked up Jane Apps and they had Rizzo and they had people were hating on um Chicago when he first joined after he replaced Granovi because they thought Chicago was going to be just a straight um he wasn't going to be able to perform to the level of Granovi since everyone knew Granovi as the Mountain because he was just the best player in the first seasons. Um, they had a lot of pressure on him, and it was great to see because I had a lot of faith in Chicago when he first joined G2. So it was definitely, um, great to see him perform, and he actually, was able to do better than what people expected. And it was kind of like I was kind of just like, flipping the hitters off for Chicago, being like, yeah, I supported this man. I knew he was gonna do well since he came to the squad. So it felt nice there. But you did go to Worlds last year. Did you end up meeting our boss, Waytoni?
Indeed, we did. I actually watched. What game was it that I watched? I watched a game with him. He came out of his fancy creators VIP section to watch a game with us. And honestly, I don't remember what game it was. I don't think it was a super interesting one. I think it was Moist and no, because Moist played Furia. Who did they play before? It might have been who Moist played before. I'm not sure actually, but yes, I did get to meet him. We got some photos, watched a game. Was cool. So it was nice. Um, it was a lot of fun. It was good, and I got to meet Soj and Yoza as well. They came with us to go to Worlds, so we hung out a lot. Actually, us we pretty much were there every day. I mean, Soj literally was with me and my friends. We were he was like part of the group, and then Yoza lives in Dallas, so he came as well. So we got to hang out with a bunch of people. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, the RLCS that was held in LA recently, the venue is like 30 minutes away from my house. So I wanted to go, but I ended up having a lot of work. But I was telling Waiting last night, I was telling like my plan for meeting you was to come up as a really annoying fan and to be as annoying as possible, and then just automatically start talking about some of the most OG things as possible. So just like saying some of like the random stuff, not the fans wouldn't know, some more behind the
Yeah,
scenes stuff. And then he would just be confused, being like, "So who is this guy?" And then I would reveal who I was. So that
nice.
was my fan friend. He was laughing. He was like, I probably would have figured out who you were by your voice. And I'm like, well, I guess I wouldn't have worked, but
True, true. That would have been hilarious.
it would have been pretty funny though, and I definitely would have recorded it just for the reaction. But um, that was my plan for that. What kind of sucks that I didn't get to meet him then. I don't know when I'll be able to meet him because I've known him for a long time now, but I haven't met him. I've also known like people like Shorty, like some of the other mods like Shorty, Ben, and some of the other mods for a long time. Shorty actually lives not in LA, but he lives like probably like an hour and a half away, like more south from me. But we have actually never met, and we've known each other for like 5 6 years now. We haven't met yet. We're gonna meet in October, thankfully. So
Nice.
I'm excited to meet him then, because he's kind of the ones I would play with the most back then. So I still play with him pretty consistently. We play together quite a bit. So it's always exciting to meet someone that you know um you play with online in person.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's how it was with Soj, right? I mean, it was cool. We hung out not only just like in the context of like, hey, let's go play some games in Discord, but we got to go out and like get food and hang out around town and stuff. So it was really
Yeah,
neat. It's kind of cool because I had friends from all over the place, right? There was Soj. My college roommate lives in Dallas, and then I had some friends from high school and just another group from back home. So I had like three different friend groups kind of come together at one time. We all just like got hype over Rocket. It was
that's
awesome.
awesome. Yeah.
Although I will say, so I don't know if you care or have tracked this or anything, but one of the things I was the most excited for, it maybe sounds silly, but I was most excited for going to Worlds that didn't happen was getting the limited wheels.
Oh,
They, like the Decennium Pros
yeah.
or the Emerald Pros,
Those wheels were awesome.
right? And I thought that they just every year for people who got tickets, got a code that they could redeem. But they didn't do it this year. And they did have a limited wheel, but it was a Twitch drop, which
Yeah.
actually really irritated me because I paid all this money and made plans to come and be here in person. And now you're telling me that in order for me to like get the in-game rewards, I have to be at my computer. which was a
Yeah.
little annoying. Yeah. So I actually had my girlfriend open up Twitch on my PC, and then on my phone, I would set a timer for every like 2 hours or something, and then go on and claim drops. So I did get the wheels, right? But again, I was really excited to get some custom, like limited wheels, and they didn't have any at all. And I was really sad. So yeah, I don't know. Again, you are somebody who's been playing Rocket League and a little bit more involved in the scene. I mean, I've had my account since 2016, but I really only got into it like a year or two ago, 2 years ago, probably now. Um, so I don't know if you even had any thoughts on the fact that they didn't give out any wheels. I don't know if you noticed, but yeah, there were none, and I was kind of surprised and disappointed by it.
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, it kind of sucks to see because I always wanted to go to ROCS specifically for the wheels, and I didn't even know that they didn't give the wheels. So that is kind of it kind of sucks to see that they didn't because I always wanted to go to ROCS for the wheels or just get a ticket and then sell the ticket just so I could get the wheels. But it kind of sucks to see because I am looking at it here and there are some pretty nice. Probably my favorite wheels are those black and white Aero Mages. Those ones are sick. I like those wheels. Those
Those
wheels
are
are
sick.
nice. Same with the Emerald Pros. I think the Emerald Pros are very nice as well.
Yeah, yeah. I just had a thought and it blanked on it, so I don't know. Maybe it wasn't a big deal, but yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's I kind of get this feeling, and I'm curious what your thoughts are. Right? I guess I got on the state of the game, like where we see the game going, what the future holds.
Hmm.
I'm half hopeful and half concerned. Um, and so basically, like I said, I've had Rocket League since I think I actually went through my Steam purchases, and I purchased it in December of 2015. So since the year it was released, I've technically had it. I don't think I really played it until after New Year's, but that's why I haven't established 2016. But that's pretty much when I got into the game. I didn't get into the game regularly though until free to play because then more of my friends had it, and I came back and then I kind of learned how to get better at the game, and it's been more fun. But I've been around, and I've came back every so often and got my rewards like every other season, all the way back to original season two.
Yeah,
Um, I've season two rewards way back there. So I've kind of been around for a long time, but haven't really been involved in it. And now I'm like really getting into the game. I feel like I've missed a lot of the best times of the game. Maybe trading was a lot better back when there were keys. I remember keys. I remember having keys, but I never really got into trading. It just seems like some of the older rewards were better, were really cool. It meant a lot more to get certain things. It was just a little bit different, and maybe that's just hey, I wasn't there for that. I kind of missed out on that, and that's gonna be how it is no matter what. Um, but again, like now that I'm way invested into the game, and at this point, it's probably my all time favorite game. It's gonna be important to me for a long time. It's gonna be on my radar for a while. I'm not just gonna drop it.
yeah,
Um, Now being at that point, and again, being a I would call myself more of a hardcore fan, going to worlds, doing these things, and then seeing what my expectations were based off of like what happened in the past, right? Like the wheels not coming out. Um, just that, and then compared with like some of the other things that I see, like some of the more prominent Rocket League content creators are more or less starting to branch out into other games. They're not just doing Rocket League anymore. And that may not be related to this, but it could be. And I'm wondering is that a good sign for the game? Is Psyonix like I guess maybe it's because Epic is kind of pulling some strings behind the scenes now, but like they're not really rewarding the people who showed up and got there and were there in person like they used to with the in-game items and things like that. Um, they're the content creators are starting to branch out more. Like Thanovic is doing more Valorant stuff. Cbell has been doing kind of just a bunch of different. And I wonder if people are afraid that the game is kind of dying and the scene is drying up, and that's because maybe there's not as much love and attention to detail in the game as there used to be, right? Like people have complained the past several season rocket passes have just been kind of lackluster, nothing really interesting, nothing really that great. It just doesn't feel like the designers put a lot of energy into some of the things, whether it's the season rewards or the items. Like a lot of the really cool items be older. um but the flip side of that is they're working on Unreal Engine 5. As a software developer, I know that moving a game to an entirely new engine is it's like replacing the foundation on your house. Like it's like ridiculous.
yeah.
So there's a lot of work and there's a lot of resources going into that. One of the things they have to do is transfer all of the digital assets over from Unreal Engine 3 to Unreal Engine 5. And that's probably where most of the designer work is going.
Yeah,
So, I give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm hopeful that when Unreal Engine 5 comes around, the game is going to see a ridiculous resurgence because of all the new things that will allow. Plus, the content creators and the community has developed so much that now Psyonix knows exactly what people like, what people can and can't do, what people have tried to do, what people have done well, what people have not done well, and how Psyonix's role plays into that, so that they can make the game even better and accessible to more people. Like, right, if you're on PC and you're not using Bacchus mod, you're just straight up missing out.
true.
And then if you're a console, you can't do anything about that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So they've already added some of the new like basic features into free play just in the game, right? Like where you use the D-pad to have the ball go different
Yeah,
ways. So I can see they're working towards that. And I think that they are incorporating some but at the same time, I feel like are they're slacking off in some other areas that has really made the game exciting and fun and people really like. And they're little details, right? But the little things sometimes are what you remember the
massive.
most.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I'm coming in, I think, really getting into the scene and really kind of becoming more of a hardcore fan and player right in the middle of this transition. So for me, it's really kind of confusing to get a grip on like what the state of the game is really like because it's always more or less kind of been like I've seen glimpses and I've technically played the game when it was older and I remember some things, but I never played it enough for it to really like stick and like leave an impression. Um, and so I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are as someone who's been playing for a lot longer, some of the older things that you've seen, and where we're at now and what might be on the horizon. Like, what do you think? What do you see for the game? What are your thoughts on content creators that normally had only done Rocket League trying to
Mhm.
branch out more? I see them on Twitter all the time talking like, oh man, it's so hard to upload a video that's not exactly what the algorithm is expecting and this and that. And, like it's not it's not easy or really profitable for a content creator to try and branch out into new areas after they develop their audience. Yet they
Yeah.
still try to do it, which to me is like, do they really just have nothing left to do for Rocket League? Or do they, I don't know. So I don't know. What are your thoughts? I want to turn the floor over to you.
I think definitely Rocket League are going into the right direction with working on those small little tweaks on helping people who don't have access to certain tools like Podcast Mod, like we were talking about the free play and everything. I think overall those are good adjustments, but I think they're putting so much into that they're forgetting the fact that so many people love the game for aesthetics. People back then loved a lot of the wheels, a lot of the decals. We had the most popular four that dropped that were the Parallax, Heat Wave, Slipstream, and Labyrinth. Labyrinth not being as popular as the other three, but still, those were the three most popular decals, and people love those decals. And up until I think it was around season 7, you started seeing a decline in a lot of the quality of decals overall, just cosmetics.
Would
Like
that be like OG season 7 or free to play season
OG
7?
season 7, because yeah, because you started seeing a decrease. I hope, and I hope for this season they bring back trails. If for some reason someone at the Rock League headquarters is listening to this, please bring back trails for rewards. The rewards for trails back then in season 2 or 3, I think it was, or maybe season 4, I don't remember. One of the early seasons were great. Everyone loved those, and I do when I do go through Twitter sometimes I do see people requesting that. So it would be great to see trails come back as a reward, because we've to be honest we've kind of been getting let down with the rewards recently, and um I think it's something that should be taken into consideration, because people do have to grind a whole season. Some people do grind the whole season to get to the highest rank they can to get the rewards. And then, to see that and then be like, the rewards are kind of lackluster, and then they're kind of upset that, what's going on? Why are the rewards not as good as I expect them to be? Like, what's going on there? So I do think, although um, they're going in the right direction with more of the technical stuff, I think they should be also putting some time into thinking about cosmetics, because I think that's kind of like the big reason why a lot of people were so into the game. Because you did have crates back then. The crates were super exciting, but for like non-gambling reasons, they took them off and put in implemented credits, which kind of sucked. Um, because crates were exciting to open. I remember sometimes getting money for Christmas and just putting that into crates and just opening. I remember I unboxed White Zombos the week that they dropped, and I ended up selling them for $30, which I regretted later. But um, that was kind of awesome. I kind of miss those features when I think back about it. But it is what it is. I think the game has definitely evolved, and I don't think the game is dying. It's more, I do agree that content creation is a little difficult because of the fact that they're focusing a lot on the tech stuff and not really putting out the small updates that could be massive to the game realistically.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like anything new they add to the current game, they basically have to do twice because it has to also go into Unreal 5.
Yeah,
And yeah, and then they're also redoing everything that's already there, and there's so many items. I don't know what it takes to, port an asset over. Maybe it doesn't take that much, maybe it takes more, not sure, but I don't know. I I I'm holding out hope. I feel like right now a Rocket League player is really just playing the game for other reasons, right? I feel like that's the whole reason why I really joined Wayton's Discord server um soon, earlier, like was just because I didn't have anybody to play the game with. I'd gotten to a point where like I needed to get better. It was harder to improve, in the lower ranks, you can do a lot of simple things to improve. Once you get to the higher ranks, it takes a little bit more work, and I just wanted to find more of a community because for whatever reason, just playing the game wasn't enough. There wasn't
yeah,
enough just in the game to make it worthwhile. Um, and that to me is like if I have to reach to outside of the game in order to continue to want to play the game, that just kind of means the game's not going anywhere. And Rocket League is a really niche game, and like I said, it's never gonna probably lose the space it has in my heart right now. But it definitely feels like the current iteration of Rocket League is just kind of on coast mode as long as it can. And I hope that, and they've confirmed it, but we got no updates. And hoping they would give us an update at Worlds on Unreal Engine 5, but no, nothing.
yeah,
Um, I hope that, when Unreal Engine 5 comes out, it really is just everything we already have and so much more, and all the things that we um so I'm super excited. I think they have a ton of tools at their disposal to do it. Um, I just hope that we get it soon because
yeah, for sure.
I'm like a kid on Christmas. I can't wait.
No, I mean I definitely understand. I mean, we can only hope because Rocket League is definitely a fun game that a lot of people enjoy. We saw a huge boost in players. Like it was crazy back then seeing, remember queuing nights, and you would see 100,000 people on, or at most 200,000 people on, and then when free play dropped, it spiked up all the way to 800,000. So that was crazy to see the spike in players. So and the game is definitely kind of slowed down since then. It's definitely not at its peak as it was when free to play dropped, but it's definitely not to the point where it was back then. There's still tons of players playing, and it's great to see. But I definitely think they should do, instead of focusing on such big updates at times. Sometimes people want are the small things, the small things to keep them interested. Because sometimes that's all they need really to keep interested into the game. I feel like
Yeah,
if they try to focus a little bit more on how they put out cosmetics, and again, I imagine it's hard. They are working on Unreal Engine 5, as we as you said. But and I imagine that that's very difficult. It's not easy to just move a whole game. So I do understand, but I feel like if they were to put a little bit more time into cosmetics, as we talked about the Rocket Pass and stuff, then it would inspire people to play more, because the Rocket Pass is definitely an incentive to play the game more, because this they're kind of like skins that there's cosmetics you get for like just $10, and you get a whole lot of them. So making the cosmetics look as a as a you know as best as they can would definitely benefit the game, because you would see a lot of people grinding to get the colored versions, like the titanium white versions of wheels or the decals, or even the car. Like I mean the the Honda that they dropped for this pass is, got a lot of hype because it's actually pretty cool. But on the other side, I don't really see any wheels or any decals or or anything that I'm really other interested into grinding for besides the car, you know.
Yeah,
So I hope that they um think about that, because I imagine a lot of people are thinking the same way I am, and they're like, the car is amazing. I want to get painted versions of this car, but there's not really anything else I want from this pass. So
yeah.
I'm not really gonna grind for anything else. So I think
But
that's something that they could, you know, take into consideration to kind of bring back people people's excitement for the game, for sure.
definitely, yeah. And I will say one thing that has been really exciting for me is, like, again, we said it's the small things, and we got a new map that everyone instantly
Mm,
loved.
yeah,
I really like the new map. I'm super psyched for the Dunk House map. Like, we've literally never had another map for
hoops
Dunk House,
map.
like for the
Yeah,
Hoops map.
for hoops.
This will be super cool. It's little things like that. Like, we don't have to have any crazy new game modes, or it's just they made a map that was simple. It wasn't super over the top, like, oh, this one you're in space and the sky is gonna be super blown out and saturated and it's supposed to be so grand. It's like, we're just in a park. We're at a park and it's got grass, and they did a good job making a city.
Yeah,
Um, the concept is not super crazy over the moon, and they did a really good job making it. So obviously, like, the talent's there, and
yeah,
that to
for
me
sure.
was a really good sign.
I mean that the bringing back the map, the process of thinking of bringing back a hoops map, because it is the most played extra mode out of all of them. Um, so you can tell that they're definitely thinking about that stuff and the small things, and it definitely did help this season. But I feel like if they also bring that energy towards cosmetics, then you would see a higher spike,
Definitely,
because the
everyone loves
cosmetics
their
recently have
cosmetics.
been kind of dry. Like some of the mystery decals have been. I mean, the mystery decals recently were kind of cool, but you know, a lot of them people don't use, so they're not you know
Yeah, and if they're gonna
talking
use a
about it.
black market, it's probably one of the older ones, nothing new.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Like some of the most used ones are probably like 20XX, and that was brought back way back then. Heatwave is still used somewhat, like again, some of the OGs for sure. But I think on that note, we're gonna end off the first episode of the Modcast. I really appreciate you um you know coming on to the podcast,
If you made it
McFizz.
this far.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a blast. I'm super excited to see the other episodes and hear, what the other guests have to say. And if you ever feel like it would be nice to have me back, let me know. I'd love to do it again.
Oh, for sure, for sure. We'll keep in talks. And yeah, I want to thank everybody else for if you made it this far. I really appreciate it. It was a very fun first episode, and we're gonna be recording more. Make sure, if you want to be there for the live episode, the date will be announced in the Discord. After I post this video, most likely, hopefully, we get the date sorted out. But I'll announce it when we can get the live episode going. Make sure you join the Discord in the description. Again, follow this channel for more updates on the Modcast, and subscribe to Wayton. So thank you everybody coming by, and I hope you all have a good one. Bye bye.